Good evening and welcome back to the Learn to Love You show. It has been a wonderful, wonderful experience sharing with you and talking with you about domestic violence, abusive behavior, and sexual assault. My name is Renita Hills and I am your host for the evening. And I am also the founder and CEO of Voice of the Victim. Voice of the Victim is an organization that works with victims and survivors of domestic abuse, abusive behavior, and sexual assault. This show is to empower you. No, let me take that back. It's to empower us to be a better us. Not good English, but you know what I'm talking about. It is to help us to be supportive and encourage us to move forward in spite of the abuse that we may have endured. Last time we talked about predator and prey. This time, we're going to talk about a different form of abuse. We're going to talk about sexual abuse. That one's going to be a little tricky and it can be a little sensitive, but we're going to plug through it. We're going to work through it and we're going to make it happen. We're going to talk about it. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free at the bottom of it to plug it in, and I promise you I'll get back with you as quickly as I can to address any questions I have that you might have. And if I don't have the answers, I promise you I'll do my best to find them for you. All right. What is sexual abuse? It's an unwanted activity you have been made to do against your will or been manipulated to accept with things like threats or sulking or blackmail. Okay, that's a whole lot of words. It's basically having somebody to force, entice, encourage, blackmail, talk you into, and maneuver, coerce you into doing something of the sexual nature that you don't want to do. That's a whole lot, right? So let's talk about this in two different arenas. Number one, let's talk about it if you're a single person. You go out on a date. You're having a great time. You're enjoying this person. And I'm trying to keep it very neutral. So if I go male or female, please forgive me, but it goes both ways. You guys are enjoying it. You're having a great evening. He took you to your favorite restaurant. She let you order your best. I look at you and complimented you on that wonderful suit. You guys have talked and you had a really, really great time. And you get back and you go back and say, "Oh, well, come on up. Come up to the apartment. Let's sit down and chill out. Watch a movie for the rest of the, for a little while." And you sit there and you get to coddling and you're talking and you start, maybe you got a kiss in and you just got a little touch going on there. And one of you says stop, but you don't stop and you keep going. Or one of you says, well, let's just have a glass of wine and chill out a little bit. And it gets a little cool, it gets a little bit closer, and you start doing a little more touching and kissing and feeling. And we're going to try and keep this rated PG-16 because we don't know who's watching. But then you get to the point where you say, no, stop. Wherever the stop says, wherever the no comes in, at any point of that date during the evening, when that no or that stop or any level of hesitancy or I don't want this comes to the front page, that's your cue to just stop. And it doesn't matter if you already have engaged. When the stop comes, you stop. When the no comes, you stop. When the hesitancy comes, you stop. If both people are not fully engaged and in the position or in the right mind to say yes and or no, you stop. When it comes to the abuse part of it, and we're still talking about a single couple, when you push beyond that, it is no longer mutually agreed upon. At that point, it becomes an abuse or it even goes so far as being sexual assault. You can do time for that. We don't want the abuser to do time, and we don't want the victim to live with the fact that their no was not adhered to and was not honored. When you start doing drugs or drinking alcohol, or start saying, "Oh, baby, you know I love you. You know it's nobody but you, and you know you want it. Doesn't it feel good?" You are coercing somebody to do something they don't want to do, and that is sexual abuse and it's sexual assault. We're talking about single couples. Let's flip it over to the married couples. See, y'all, all of some of y'all out there thinking, "Oh, it don't apply to married people because we married. That's what we got married for, so we can have sex, and I can do it whenever I want to." No, even in marriage, when one party says no, it's still a no. If you coerce them, if you entreat them, if you entice them, if you encourage them, if you wait till they fall asleep and do it anyway, that's still sexual abuse. It is a sexual assault. We don't want that. That's something you do not want. Forget about the legal part of it. Do you want to be in a relationship where you have to talk somebody into being comfortable and showing you affection? And the only way they can do it is if they're drunk, or if they're high, or if they're threatened, excuse me, or if they're feeling like, "I don't want to hurt their feelings." Oh, they look at them, they're over there, they're looking all puppy dog eyes and pitiful and sulking. "I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want them to be mad at me. I love them and I want them to love me." Is that the only way that you can get them, somebody to give you what you want? Is that the way you want to get it? That shouldn't be the way you get it. And if you're in the position where you're feeling like you're being coerced or pushed or abused, or you feel like if I don't do it, something bad is going to happen, you are being sexually assaulted and you're being sexually abused. You're being manipulated. And that's not the way you should live. That's part of one form of sexual assault. Sexual assault also includes, like I said, sexual contact or behavior that occurs within explicit consent of the victim. In other words, if you don't specifically say, "I'm okay with this," or if you're not showing any motion of saying, "I'm not into it," or "I don't want it," then and they continue, that is a sexual assault. If someone forces you to have sex, or the act of using pressure, like I said, alcohol, drugs, forces you to have any kind of sexual contact with against your will, you're being sexually assaulted, and that is sexual abuse. If they make you feel inferior when it comes to sex. Now, I'm going to tell you, this was one that I had to endure. Well, you ain't no good at it anyway, so if you don't do it, I'm going to find somebody else who'll do it right. So then I'm laying there thinking, "Oh my gosh, I don't want him to go have an affair with somebody else, but I really don't want to do this myself." You have to choose between them going to doing it with somebody else or them doing it with you, and you don't want it. That's not the way it should be. It should not be a threat that if you don't give it to me, I'm going to go get it from somebody else. I lived with that. That's not a good feeling. Marital rape is probably one of the most disrespectful, stripping, taking away of who you are as an individual. Your body is your temple, and you should be able to say yes and no and not have to give a reason why for your no. And the person who says they love you, they should love you enough to honor your no. Your no should be honored in that way. Okay, I see some preachers out there right now saying marriage is honorable and the bed is undefiled. Yes, it is. You are absolutely right. But the God part of me also says, my daddy don't want me being abused. He doesn't want me hurt. He doesn't want me to feel like I have to do something I don't want to do just because. My daddy doesn't want to put me in a position to where I'm feeling less than the wonderful creature he created me to be. So, all right, preachers, because I know y'all gonna get me, and I'm ready for the emails and I'm ready for the text messages. We can talk about this too, because next year we're gonna have you on a panel to talk about sexual abuse, and we're gonna talk about domestic violence in the church. So y'all save all y'all comments to then. We'll talk about it then. Another way that they do is they make you do things during sex that make you feel uncomfortable or it's painful. I endured that one as well. It's not good. and I'm going to keep this as PG as I possibly can. If it's not enjoyable for you, and both of you are not walking away from it and feeling like this is a good thing, you might want to sit back down to the table and have a conversation with that person. Absolutely communicate with that person. If they're not understanding it or not hearing it, then you might want to rethink and back off and where you want to be in a relationship. Sexual assault and sexual abuse is never the victim's fault. Domestic violence, abusive behavior, sexual assault is never the victim's fault. No is no. It is not your fault. If you need assistance with that, please feel free to call the domestic violence hotline. Every state, every city, and every state in the United States of America has a domestic violence network. Find the one that's near you. I've been really, really careful. My producer's behind me like, ooh, be careful, PG. You don't know who's watching. So I'm being very, very, very careful about the content. But I didn't want to do any show. I didn't want to do this show without addressing this particular point, because I want you to know that I know, and we are aware that happens. We are aware that this is a problem in our community. So I wanted to address it and make sure that we all know that we're not ignoring that it happens. Please find help. The domestic violence phone number is 1-800, 1-800 SAFE, SAFE. I'm going to say it again, 1-800 72 1-800-7233. 1-800-SAFE. Call them. Find out where you can get help in your neighborhood, in your city, and in your state. Thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be a quick show. I know we didn't give you as much time this time. Again, because it is a sensitive topic, but I did want to address it. Please excuse me. I got a little bit of a frog in my throat tonight. But please find help. We are here for you. Don't think you're alone. You're never alone. Voice of the Victim, the Learn to Love You show, and every volunteer and member of our staff, we are here to help you. Thank you for joining us this evening. If you're enjoying and liking our videos, please subscribe, like, share, invite other people to join in. If you know someone who's enduring a domestic violence, abusive behavior, or sexual assault relationship, please let them know who we are. Give them a chance to take a look at it with you privately, because we don't know who's watching them while they're watching this, and we don't want to endanger anybody. So please let somebody know. Cue them into our website. Let them know about this YouTube channel. Share it with them. It's not about just you. We are all in this together. Remember, at the end of the day, as always, beneath your skin and behind your eyes is an absolutely beautiful you. Learn to love you. Until next time, good night.